Hey, what's up? I just had a thought in my head based on a conversation that I had with somebody this morning. Sometimes I feel a bit philosophical, and I have to have conversations, or I have conversations with people, about mostly about experiences that I've had and things I've gone through, and then I had a conversation with my son after this about the person who I had the conversation with, and he's trying to explain to me how I don't know. Okay, long story short. I worked for a builder for a long time, and I considered him a good friend. And this one time, we were having a conversation, and he kind of came out to me and said that, we're not really friends. He goes, I don't actually have any friends in my life. And it didn't make any sense to me, and it was kind of offensive that he said that. But in retrospect, I kind of understand what he was saying. And the reason was because I was on his payroll. I was part of his payroll. And so no matter what happened, he felt like he was buying my friendship, right? Just simply because I was on his payroll. Which I felt was like a sad thought to have. But in retrospect, I understand what he's saying about that, owning a business now myself and being an entrepreneur. It is tough. It is tough to have friends, especially when those friends work for you. I mean, it's a fine line for me as well. My son works with me, and we're kind of partners in this. And sometimes, it's like trying to keep in alignment the idea between us being partners and him being my son can be a challenge, But I'll tell you, a long story short, what happened with the falling out I had with the guy I worked for was that, there was a time when when he was very good to me, and I should have recognized this pattern of behavior though, and I didn't, because at the time I could only see my side of the benefit, and believe me, there were some benefits to it, they were very gracious, and they helped me purchase a house. They gave me a private loan on a property, and I was super appreciative of it, and I paid the loan back, over the course of 4 years. And I'm very thankful, and I thanked them then, But the thing that I didn't realize was, in this process, was that by virtue of helping me buy this house, he owned me, and he owned my time. And therefore, I never would ever be in a position to be able to question anything or say anything. And, and God forbid I was looking for a pay raise or something after the length of time that I had worked with them. I had worked for them for several years, for a decade or so. For 5 years of it, I was indebted to them for helping me purchase my house. And in that time period, my payroll never changed. It would have been a how dare you ask for more money after all we've done for you. One of those kinds of deals. And he had a habit of this, in a sense, of helping people. I mean, I look at it like rescuing dogs, right? He was a people rescuer. When we worked in another state, he had 3 employees full-time that worked for him. One of them was a raging alcoholic and had child support payments. So he needed to have a full-time job because his wages were attached, and he had to be able to pay, or he would have would have ended up going to jail and whatnot. Not to mention he was super self-destructive in and of himself. So there was that. The other guy was a young kid who was very talented and worked very hard, but he was also an alcoholic. And at the time that I met him, he was just coming off of his second DUI. He hadn't lost his license, but they did put one of those, because he had kids and stuff. The county had put, the sheriff's department had put one of those things that you have to blow in to be able to start your car and drive it when you're driving. And so he had one of those in his car, to try to keep him from drinking and driving and whatnot. So he again was a guy who needed a job. And the last guy was a long-time employee for this man. And he had always lived in this man's apartments or houses that he owned and was a renter of him. So, none of these three guys would have ever been in a position to ask for more money or ask for better hours or anything like that. And ultimately, they all got fired when the economy turned in, 2009, 2010. And whatever. Well, I ended up working for him shortly thereafter, and and helped build his business where we are, and that all went pretty well. And again, they helped me, but I didn't realize that at the time. That help is never free, right? Like, your help is like when somebody offers you assistance and offers you help, there's always a price to pay on the other end, Well, to wrap this up, is I just was having a conversation with a guy who, he works for one of the companies that is a sub for me, and he's really talented, and he wants more out of life, and he's in his 40s or early 40s, and he wants more out of life. And without saying much to me, because I guess he doesn't know where I'm coming from, he kind of like alluded to the idea that he would love to own his own company or make more money and have more financial freedom, like we all would. It's a natural thing. But he feels indebted to one of the owners of the company. He claims that the owner basically took him out of the gutter and helped support him. You know what I mean? And helped give him a job and now a career, and and he's thriving on some level, but he's also reached that point where he wants to thrive more, and it's kind of like, well, how dare you want more from us? We've already done this, and this for you. And I feel like, and as a person who's lived this experience myself, the only advice I can give you is to, at the end of the day, at some point, if you're dedicating your time and your efforts to making another person or more people money, right, based on your labor and your effort, and they are benefiting and profiting and living a good life, then you absolutely deserve to make more money. I'm not a big guy on tenure. I don't believe in that shit. I don't believe that because you've been here for 5 years that you should. I don't even believe in hourly pay raises or yearly pay raises for that matter. I only believe in effort-based rewards, right? I tell my guys that work for me, you want to make more money, you have to make me more money. I try to establish an incentive-based profit program for them, where it's like, I'll get a job, I'll get a bathroom or a deck or some kind of project that we're doing, and I'll be like, listen, this is your guys' job, okay? I will fund the materials. You're using all my tools. I will buy all the materials, and I need this amount of money to cover what my overhead was. But beyond that, the rest of this money will be your guys' money. The caveat is, you have to do this job more or less when I don't have something else more pressing for you to do for me. You know what I mean? But it's an incentive-based model, and it allows my guys, to make a little more money. And I think that they appreciate it. And it's not like a shit ton. I mean, when you take out the overhead costs, there's not a lot of money left. But, it's kind of like, at the end of the week, if my guys both make another day and a half's wages, that it feels like a bonus for them. You know what I mean? And they appreciate that, because it doesn't take much to make people feel appreciated. And honestly, the guy that I worked for, had he offered a performance-based and profit-based incentive program for me, I probably would have stayed, because I am a much better employee for somebody than I am business owner. The benefit of having me as an employee is I treat your business like it's my business, and I care about the outcome all the time. I never just check out and go, well, not my fucking problem. I treated everything as though it was my problem. I lost sleep. I missed time with my family to make sure that, his business was well taken care of, you know. But at the end of the day, man, greed always wins, I guess. Anyway, I just kind of wanted to, you know, tell you a story. Let me know your thoughts. Like and subscribe. Share it with all your friends. But, you know, best advice I can give you is become an entrepreneur. Own your shit. Thanks. God bless.